Some of the most powerful changes in your life will happen in complete silence. No applause, no updates, no one even noticed. And yet, those are the moments that shape you the most. Not the big announcements, not the loud celebrations, but the quiet choices you make when no one is watching. There's a kind of strength that grows in that silence. Buddha taught that stillness is not the absence of movement, but the presence of deep awareness. And today, we're going to talk about the kind of success that doesn't need to be seen to be real, the kind that's built slowly, deliberately, without the need for anyone's permission or praise. This isn't about hiding, it's about honoring the sacredness of your path before the world tries to define it for you. So stay with me, don't skip ahead. Every part of this message carries something you might not even realize you need. And if what we're doing here speaks to something real inside you, if it reminds you of your own strength, your own quiet journey, then there's one small free thing you can do to support this space. Just tap that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Now let's go deeper into the wisdom of staying silent, staying grounded, and letting your success speak for itself when it's ready. There's something strangely addictive about being seen in the process. We feel a kind of rush when we tell someone what we're planning, what we're building, what we're about to become. It makes the dream feel more real, like saying it out loud brings it to life, and in a way it does. But not always in the way we hope. Sometimes, speaking our vision too soon gives us a false sense of progress. We start to believe we've already taken a step when really we've only imagined it. And yet, the temptation to share is strong. In today's world, we're encouraged to announce everything, to post it, caption it, wrap it in something clever, and share it before it's even begun. We confuse visibility with movement. But the Buddha reminded us that craving arises in many forms, and the need to be seen, to be acknowledged, is one of the subtler ones. It feels harmless, but it pulls us off the path. At its core, this desire to broadcast what we're doing comes from a longing to be affirmed. We want to feel that we're on the right track, that someone sees our effort even before the outcome. And there's no shame in that. It's deeply human. But it becomes a problem when the validation replaces the doing. When telling someone you're writing a book feels more rewarding than actually sitting down to write it. When sharing a fitness goal gets more attention than the early, painful mornings it takes to train for it. In those moments, we're feeding the ego, not the purpose. Buddha taught that the ego is always seeking to prove, to compare, to be recognized. But the Dharma asks something different of us. It asks for presence, for right action, without attachment to the result or the praise. We're also shaped by the culture we live in, a culture that rewards performance over process. Think about how often we hear people say, "What are you working on?" or "What's next for you?" And the underlying pressure is always to have an answer, something impressive, something polished, something that proves we're not falling behind. So we respond with updates, with visions, with dreams spoken too early, still fragile in form. And maybe we don't even notice it, but every time we do this, we're handing away a little bit of our power. Because when you speak your vision before you've grounded it, you invite noise into something that was meant to be still. You open the door to other people's projections, their expectations, their doubts, even their silent judgment. And the Buddha warned us, the mind is already difficult to master. Why add more layers to untangle? Another reason we share too soon is fear. Not fear of failure, but fear of invisibility. We're scared that if we don't tell the world, our progress won't count. That if no one sees the journey, the achievement won't be worth as much. But that's just another illusion. Real growth doesn't require an audience. It requires inner discipline. It requires the humility to build in silence, to face setbacks without broadcasting them, and to stay rooted even when no one is clapping. The Buddha's life itself is a lesson in this. He left everything behind, not to be seen, but to understand, to live from truth, not from performance. There's something quietly dangerous about the way we share too much, too soon. It doesn't always feel like a problem. In fact, sometimes it feels exciting, like momentum. You're working on something meaningful, something that lights you up inside. And naturally, you want to talk about it. You want to tell someone, anyone, because it feels like proof that you're finally moving forward. But that little burst of excitement can come with a price. Buddha warned us not to cling to illusions, and this early sharing, is one of the most subtle illusions of all, because when we talk too soon, we trick ourselves into believing we've already done something real. But words are not actions, and validation is not progress. When you speak of your dreams while they're still fragile, still forming, it's like planting a seed and then digging it up every few days to show others it's growing. You don't mean to cause harm, but over time the roots never get strong enough to hold. That's the cost no one talks about. Sharing too early opens the door not just to noise, but to interference. You invite in opinions, reactions, questions, some well-meaning, others not. But all of them create static that wasn't there before. And the more sensitive your dream is, the more that static starts to pull you off course. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant, whether it's peace, doubt, clarity, or confusion, will grow. So if you begin a sacred project with the intention of creating something beautiful, but immediately expose it to external judgment, you start planting distraction in that same soil. At first, it may look like nothing, a small comment here, a casual remark there. But over time, these things accumulate. They create little hesitations inside you. You begin second-guessing your process, your pace, your worthiness, and that's the true cost, not just the distraction, but the erosion of your confidence. It's easy to forget that not everyone is meant to understand the early stages of your journey. Buddha often spoke of right speech, words that are necessary, timely, and kind. But most of what we share early on isn't for clarity, it's for comfort. We want reassurance, we want to feel seen. But comfort borrowed from someone else can never replace the steady strength that comes from showing up in silence and doing the work alone. When we rely on outside voices to affirm us before we've even finished, we give away the very power we need to keep going. And there's another layer to this: expectation. Once you've told someone what you're working on, a subtle pressure begins to build. Now you feel watched. Now the journey isn't just yours, it's a performance. And the more eyes you feel on you, the harder it becomes to move freely. You start adjusting, not because something is wrong with your process, but because someone else is observing it. Buddha's path to enlightenment was walked in solitude, not to escape others, but to hear his own truth more clearly. Silence wasn't absence, it was protection. There's something deeply misunderstood about growth in today's world. People believe that if they're not talking about it, documenting it, or broadcasting it, then it must not be happening. But the Buddha lived the opposite truth. He taught that the most important transformations happen inside, quietly, where the world can't see. When he sat under the Bodhi tree, it wasn't with a crowd watching, clapping, or checking in. It was just him, alone, silent, still. And in that stillness, something powerful awakened. That's the wisdom we've forgotten, that sometimes the silence isn't emptiness, it's sacred space. Our culture celebrates speed, updates, and visibility. But in Buddhist practice, the focus is always turned inward. The outer world might remain unchanged for years, but within you, a revolution can be taking place. And that kind of revolution doesn't need to be shared until it's complete, until it's real. This is why monks retreat into silence for long periods, not to escape life, but to understand it, to remove distraction, dissolve the ego and find clarity beyond the noise. That same opportunity exists for us, but we have to stop performing and start observing. The Buddha once said, "Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts." Think about that. Not your failures, not your critics, your own mind. That's why protecting your inner space is so important. When we speak of our goals too early or share our plans before they've taken form, we're not just revealing ideas. We're exposing them to doubt, comparison, and confusion. And when you let too many voices into your head, you lose the quiet clarity that helps you know what's true for you. Buddhist practice is about guarding that clarity like a flame. You don't need to prove anything by being loud. The lotus, one of Buddhism's most sacred symbols, grows in still water. It pushes through mud without complaint. It blooms without making a sound. That's your model. You're not here to perform. You're here to become. And that becoming takes time. It takes solitude. It takes the kind of focus that doesn't crave praise. The Buddha never chased approval. He lived in alignment. His power came from how deeply rooted he was in truth, not how often people acknowledged him. Sometimes silence isn't avoidance, it's self-respect. It's the wisdom of knowing that your dreams deserve protection, not exposure. Just like you wouldn't place a young plant in harsh sunlight, you shouldn't throw your most tender ambitions into the spotlight before they're ready. Let them grow under the soil, let them gather strength, and when the time is right, they'll rise, and they won't need you to announce them. The result will speak for itself. There's a strange satisfaction that comes from saying you're going to do something. It gives a little spark of energy, a quick surge of pride, like progress is already being made. You announce a goal, and suddenly you feel a bit lighter, a bit closer to the finish line, even though nothing has actually happened yet. It's such a common experience, but what we don't realize is that this feeling can be deceptive. It can trick us into believing we're moving forward when really we're standing still. The Buddha spoke of moha, the delusion of the mind. And this is one of its most subtle forms, confusing words with actions, intention with execution. When we speak too much about what we plan to do, we unknowingly start to replace the doing with the talking. Our minds, craving ease and recognition, reward us for the declaration. It's as if a small part of the goal feels completed just by being spoken out loud. But the Buddha taught that liberation doesn't come from thought alone. It comes from right action, one of the steps in the Noble Eightfold Path. Words can set the stage, yes, but they cannot build the life we long for. That kind of transformation demands stillness, effort, and focus. Focus is where real power lives, but in today's world, it's harder than ever to keep our attention where it matters. Every time we talk about our dreams before they've fully formed, we open the door to distraction. We give space to questions, to doubts, to opinions that we didn't ask for, but now feel compelled to answer. Suddenly, we're adjusting our pace, changing our approach, not because it's wrong, but because someone else didn't understand it. The Buddha once said, "Do not follow the ideas of others, but learn to listen to the voice within yourself." That voice is quiet. It's not always easy to hear, and it becomes even harder when we let too many outside voices in. Holding our vision in silence isn't about secrecy. It's about protection. It's about giving something sacred the space to grow strong before it's exposed to the world. A seed doesn't sprout the moment it's planted. It takes time, it takes darkness, it takes patience, and it's the same with the goals that matter most to us. They don't need to be explained, they need to be nurtured. And this is where inner focus becomes more than just a nice idea. It becomes a discipline, a form of mindfulness. Every time you choose to keep your energy on the work instead of the words, you are practicing a kind of meditative stillness. You're embodying what the Buddha meant by samadhi, concentration that anchors you in the present. You stop needing applause. You stop chasing milestones to prove you're on track. You just show up again and again with full attention and quiet determination. There's something deeply human about wanting to be seen. When we're excited about an idea, a dream, a plan, we want to share it. We want someone to look at us and say, "That's amazing." We want their eyes to light up, their voice to echo our enthusiasm. And in that moment, we feel like we're already halfway there, like speaking it out loud made it more real. But here's the catch. Sometimes that early praise doesn't push us forward. Sometimes it replaces the drive we needed to actually do the work. The Buddha often spoke about desire and how it sneaks into places we don't expect. One form of desire is this need for early validation. It's subtle but powerful. When we seek approval too soon, we're not nurturing the seed, we're digging it up to show others what we've planted. And what happens when you keep digging up a seed? It never grows. The roots don't take hold, the soil doesn't settle. The same happens with your intentions. They need time to develop in peace without the noise of outside opinion, even if that opinion feels like love. Early validation gives you a high. It's warm and encouraging. But it's also temporary. You post your goal on social media. You tell a friend what you're going to start. You share your dream in a group chat. And maybe they cheer you on. Maybe they say all the right things. For a moment it feels like success. But you haven't taken a single step yet. The path hasn't even begun, and already part of you feels satisfied. And that satisfaction, that little dopamine rush, can quietly rob you of the hunger you actually needed. Buddha taught that true fulfillment is not found in praise but in practice, in showing up each day, even when no one claps. That kind of peace isn't glamorous, but it's real. When you're alone with your efforts, when you're building in silence, you are free from the expectations of others. You're not trying to live up to what you said. You're just living. You're not performing. You're practicing. There's a big difference. What makes early validation risky is not just that it feels good, it's that it confuses your mind. Your brain begins to treat attention as accomplishment, and this confusion leads to stagnation. You say you'll start a business, people react with excitement, your mind rewards you, but then days pass, weeks, you haven't started, and now starting feels heavier, because the energy you were supposed to put into building already went into talking. It's not that you should never share your goals. There's beauty in connection. But timing matters. Buddha spoke often of the middle way, balance, knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to act and when to wait. That balance also applies to how and when you let others in on your journey. If the foundation isn't laid, if your vision is still fragile, too much exposure too soon can do more harm than good. There's something tender about the early stages of any dream. It's alive, yes, but barely. It's still forming, still fragile, like a flame just beginning to flicker. And that's where most people make mistakes. Out of excitement or fear, or the longing to be understood, they rush to share it. They speak of it too soon. They open the door to outside voices before the foundation is strong enough to hold them. And that quiet flame, so full of potential, can start to dim without anyone meaning to harm it. Sometimes all it takes is a single doubtful glance, a soft, "that sounds hard," or a question asked too early. Not every wound is loud. Some are subtle, whispered, and that's why they're so dangerous. Buddha often spoke of guarding the mind as you would guard a fortress. In that same spirit, your early ideas, your sacred dreams, deserve that same level of protection, because they aren't just thoughts. They're the raw material of your future. What starts as a flicker of inspiration, something you can barely explain yet, has the power to become something life-changing, but only if it's nurtured with the right kind of energy, only if it's allowed to grow in quiet, still soil. You wouldn't pull a seed from the earth just to show someone it's growing. You wouldn't dig it up halfway just to prove it's real. But that's exactly what we do when we share something before it's ready. This isn't about secrecy, it's about wisdom. There's a deep knowing in the Buddhist path that understands how timing is sacred. Just as the lotus blooms only when the conditions are right, your vision will reveal itself when it's strong enough to survive the light. Until then, silence is a kind of shelter, not hiding out of fear, but protecting out of respect for what you're becoming, for what's still forming within. Not everyone will understand what you're building, not everyone should, because not everyone has the capacity to hold something delicate without squeezing it too hard or reshaping it to fit their own expectations. Think about a time when you shared something personal, an idea, a plan, a vision, and the reaction you got didn't match your energy. Maybe it was indifference, maybe it was skepticism, maybe it was a well-meaning concern, but whatever it was, it stuck with you. It changed how you saw your own dream. That's not your fault. It's just what happens when something isn't strong enough yet to stand on its own. Buddha knew that transformation requires solitude. The greatest realizations in his own life didn't come from being surrounded by people. They came from sitting beneath a tree, alone, in stillness, in silence. That space allowed truth to unfold. Not forced, not explained, just allowed. There's something strange that happens the moment we share our dreams out loud. At first it feels exciting, like we're finally stepping into our truth. But then, almost instantly, the world responds. Not always with criticism, sometimes with a pause, a raised eyebrow, a well-meaning, "Are you sure?" And in that moment, a shift begins. What once felt solid inside us now feels exposed, like a young plant caught in the wind. This isn't just emotional sensitivity, it's energetic. The Buddha taught that the mind is influenced by every impression, and when we open the door to too many voices, we invite confusion into something that was once clear. It's not that people are trying to derail you, most of them aren't, but their opinions, spoken casually, even with kindness, can begin to rearrange the structure of your inner clarity. Someone says, "That's a big risk," or "Do you think you're ready for that?" And even if you don't agree, the seed is planted. Buddha compared the mind to a field. What we plant there and what we allow to be planted will eventually grow. If you're not mindful, the opinions of others begin to sprout roots in your soil. The real danger is that most people don't speak from understanding. They speak from their own fear, their own limitations, their own unfinished stories. And yet, because we're wired for connection, we absorb their reactions as if they're truths. That's the subtle poison. Not the loud, obvious doubt, but the quiet recalibration of your own beliefs in response to someone else's lens. As the Buddha would say, do not dwell in the views of others, because those views were never designed to hold your path. What we forget is that the world only knows how to measure what it has seen before. And if your vision doesn't look like what others have experienced, it won't make sense to them. So they'll try to reshape it, translate it into their language, make it more digestible, more acceptable. But in doing so, they distort it. It becomes smaller, safer, less alive. The Buddha reminded us that truth must be discovered through direct experience. No one else can walk your path for you, and no one else can fully understand the fire that's driving you unless they've felt it too. When we begin altering our actions to match someone else's expectations, or worse, their limitations, we lose the most sacred thing we have, our inner compass. And it happens so slowly we don't notice at first. We make one small change to please someone, then another to avoid conflict, then a third because we're doubting ourselves. Before long, our path no longer feels like ours. It's been carved by the world's opinions, not our own convictions. And here's what's really important to remember. When the Buddha reached enlightenment, he did so alone, under the Bodhi tree, in silence. No feedback, no approval, just deep presence and unwavering focus. That wasn't a coincidence, it was a teaching. Some journeys require isolation, not because people are bad, but because their presence can become too loud. Their opinions, even whispered, can shake our foundation if we aren't grounded in truth. There's a moment in everyone's journey where you have to decide who you're really doing this for. Not who you say you're doing it for, but who you're really answering to. Are you chasing a goal because it calls something honest out of you? Or are you chasing it because someone's watching and it feels good to be seen trying? That difference is everything. It's the difference between being devoted and being performative, between being grounded and being reactive. And no matter how pure your intention once was, if you're constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering who's clapping or who's doubting, you slowly start giving away the meaning behind your work. Buddha spoke often about the importance of self-awareness, the kind that doesn't depend on outside validation. He taught that liberation begins when we stop needing the world to agree with our path. Because the truth is, real discipline, the kind that actually changes your life, happens when no one is watching. It's what you do when there's no praise, no post, no eyes on you. It's what happens in the quiet moments before the day begins or when everyone else has gone to sleep. That's where integrity is built, and that's where your confidence grows. Because you start to trust yourself, not because you talked about your plans, but because you showed up for them. A lot of people believe that if they speak their goals out loud, it will somehow make them more accountable. That if others know what they're doing, they'll be more likely to stick with it. But here's what often happens. Instead of creating true accountability, it creates pressure. Not the kind that fuels growth, the kind that feeds anxiety. Suddenly, you're not just trying to build something meaningful. You're trying to live up to an image you created with your words, and that image starts shaping your choices more than your actual values do. When Buddha spoke about the middle way, he wasn't just talking about balance between indulgence and denial. He was speaking about finding harmony within ourselves, where our actions match our intentions, where our outer world doesn't pull us away from our inner peace. That kind of alignment doesn't come from broadcasting your every move. It comes from developing trust with yourself. Quiet trust. The kind you build one small choice at a time, not to be seen, not to be praised, but because you said you would. And here's the hard truth: if your motivation to stay disciplined depends on whether or not someone is watching, then it's not discipline, it's performance. And performances don't last. They burn out, they rely on applause. And when the applause fades, so does the effort. Buddha taught that attachment, even to praise, is a form of suffering, because you're constantly living in reaction to how others see you. But when your only measure of success is whether or not you stayed true to yourself, everything shifts. You don't need a crowd, you don't need recognition, you just need a mirror, and the mirror doesn't lie. There's a strange and quiet space that most people avoid. The space where no one is watching, where progress feels invisible, and where nothing about your effort looks impressive. That space is uncomfortable, it's lonely, it's repetitive. But that's where the real transformation begins. It's not in the updates we post or the praise we receive. It's in the quiet hours we spend showing up for ourselves with no spotlight and no reassurance. Buddha understood this deeply. He spent years in solitude, not as an escape, but as a preparation. Enlightenment didn't come when people were watching. It came when he sat alone, beneath a tree, still and present with the discomfort of his own becoming. Most of us are taught to associate progress with visibility. If others see it, it must be real. If no one notices, it must not matter. But that's an illusion. Think about the strongest structures in the world, the ones that endure. Their foundations are buried deep beneath the surface. You never see the roots of a tree, yet they're what make the entire tree possible. In the same way, your roots, your habits, your discipline, your quiet repetitions are where your real strength is built. And no one will clap for that part. No one will see it. But if you neglect it, everything you try to build on top of it will eventually collapse. There's something sacred about building in silence. You get to make mistakes without performance pressure. You get to revise, rethink, and restart without feeling the need to explain yourself. You're free to be messy. And in that freedom, something beautiful happens. You begin to trust yourself. You learn to listen inwardly instead of constantly adjusting based on outside reactions. That's exactly what the Buddha taught when he said, "Be a lamp unto yourself." It wasn't just a metaphor, it was a call to develop your own light, your own wisdom, especially when the world goes dark or quiet. We often crave applause to remind ourselves we're on the right path. But Buddha's path was never walked for approval. It was walked for truth. The dark parts of the journey, the uncertain, the unseen, the uncelebrated, those are not obstacles. They're invitations. They're training grounds. And if you can stay committed when no one sees you, when no one claps for you, when it all feels slow and unseen, that's when you know your practice is becoming real. That's when you know you're building something that lasts. It's easy to be motivated when people are watching. It's easy to stay consistent when the outcome is close and the rewards are immediate. But what about the moments when the feedback is silence? When the results are still far away? When the only thing keeping you moving is a quiet voice inside that says, "Keep going." That's where discipline becomes devotion. That's where your journey becomes sacred. Buddha didn't speak of success as the world does. He spoke of liberation from craving, from ego, from the need to be seen. And when you surrender the need to perform, you make room for something deeper, authentic presence. There's something quietly beautiful about keeping your progress to yourself, not out of fear, not out of secrecy, but out of deep respect for what you're building. In a world that constantly pushes us to share, update, and announce, choosing not to becomes a kind of strength. It's not that you're hiding, it's that you're protecting. The Buddha often reminded his followers to guard their thoughts like a fortress, because when something is still forming, when it's tender and new, it doesn't need exposure. It needs peace. Not everyone is meant to understand what you're working on. In fact, some people will never understand it, no matter how carefully you try to explain. And that's okay. The need to be understood is one of the subtlest forms of ego. When we constantly explain ourselves, we often do it because we want approval. But when you trust yourself, truly trust yourself, you don't need that external stamp of validation. You just keep building, quietly, fully, devotedly. Buddhist teachings are rich with examples of this. Even when Siddhartha Gautama was on his path to enlightenment, he didn't stop to explain himself to the world. He didn't gather a crowd before he sat under the Bodhi tree. He simply walked the path. He sought solitude, not spectacle, and in that solitude, in that deliberate withdrawal from noise, he found everything. That's what mystery allows us to do. It gives space for discovery, not just by others, but by ourselves. When you leave something unspoken, it holds energy, a kind of sacred tension. That mystery creates room for alignment. It lets you check in with yourself again and again, without needing to perform for an audience. Because once we speak something out loud, it often becomes more about how it's received than how it feels. But when you let it live in silence for a while, you get to feel it fully, adjust it, refine it, without pressure, without the gaze of the outside world shaping it. Think of the most moving pieces of art, the most powerful stories, the most life-changing inventions. They were not created in front of an audience. They were shaped in solitude. They were nurtured in mystery. And when they arrived, finished, honest, real, they carried weight, not because they were hyped, but because they were complete. That's the power of mystery. It lets you deliver without warning. It lets your work speak without you having to explain it. Buddha also taught that what we cling to creates suffering, and sometimes we cling to being seen. We cling to updates, to feedback, to applause. We get addicted to the small rush of someone noticing. But that rush fades. It always fades. What doesn't fade is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you stayed true to your process, that you let it evolve naturally, that you didn't trade the real thing for the quick approval of an unfinished thought. There's something incredibly humbling about watching someone who doesn't talk much about what they're doing, but then one day they show up with something complete, something powerful. And you realize they weren't being quiet because they had nothing to say. They were being quiet because they were busy becoming. That kind of presence doesn't need explanation. It just arrives, fully formed, grounded and clear. The Buddha taught that true understanding comes not from talking about the path, but from walking it, in silence, with intention, with discipline. That's the kind of success that lasts, the kind that speaks volumes without ever raising its voice. We live in a time where it feels like you need to announce every step, that if you don't share it, it somehow doesn't count. But that mindset leads to shallow roots. Because when you're too focused on how things look on the outside, you forget to build what matters on the inside. And then when difficulty comes, as it always does, the structure collapses. Not because the dream wasn't good, but because the foundation was never strong enough. Buddha compared this to a tree that bears fruit too early. If the roots aren't deep, the wind will take everything. So he taught us to go inward first, to let our wisdom grow in stillness before we try to offer it to the world. Letting your work speak doesn't mean you disappear. It means you shift your energy from performing to preparing, from talking about what you're going to do to doing it, quietly, faithfully, day after day. It's not glamorous, but it's pure. There's a dignity in that kind of silence, because it's not silence born of fear, it's silence born of strength, of knowing that the seed doesn't need to prove itself. It just needs time, care, and commitment. And when the season is right, it blooms. You've probably felt the pull to prove yourself, to show people what you're working on, so they know you're not falling behind. But that need, that urge to constantly validate your effort, it drains you. It takes the energy that was meant for creation and scatters it in all directions. That's why Buddha taught that restraint is a form of wisdom. Not everything needs to be spoken. Not every step needs to be shared. Because once your work is real, once it's true, it will carry its own weight. It will stand on its own legs, and those who are meant to see it will. When you let your work speak for you, something beautiful happens. You begin to trust yourself more. You start moving from a place of alignment instead of anxiety. You're no longer checking every mirror, every reaction, every comment. You stop adjusting your path just to make others comfortable. You start building something that actually reflects who you are. And when you do that, when you create from truth instead of performance, what you build becomes undeniable. Not because it was hyped, but because it's real. There's something quietly beautiful about the person who wakes up early, not to post about it, not to tell the world how hard they're working, but simply to begin, to start again, to recommit. No audience, no performance, just them and the work, the discipline. It doesn't look dramatic from the outside. In fact, most people won't even notice. But it's this kind of effort, done consistently in silence, that builds something truly powerful. The Buddha spoke often of right effort, how the path to liberation isn't found through sudden bursts of inspiration, but through the steady, intentional actions we take day after day. Not flashy, not loud, just true. Discipline in the Buddhist tradition isn't about harshness or self-denial. It's about alignment. When your actions match your values, your truth, your deepest purpose, something inside you settles. There's peace in that. And yet, modern life tries to make discipline seem rigid, joyless, or worse, only something you do to earn praise. But real discipline doesn't need to be praised. It doesn't need validation. It lives in the quiet spaces where no one is watching. where the ego is stripped away and what's left is sincerity, commitment, mindfulness in motion. Think about it. How often do we do things just because someone might see us doing them? We go to the gym and post the workout. We write one paragraph and talk about the book we're writing. We skip meals and call it dedication. But Buddha taught that true discipline is internal. It's not about the appearance of effort. It's about the clarity of intention. If you're waking up early just to be seen as hardworking, that's ego. If you're doing it because it brings you closer to your own awakening, that's discipline. The difference is subtle, but it's everything. And here's what's often overlooked. Discipline isn't supposed to feel easy. Some days it will feel heavy. Some days you'll want to run from it. But it's in choosing to return anyway, again and again, that you begin to build something unshakable. Not just results, but character. The Buddha called this bhavana, the development of the mind and heart. Discipline is bhavana in action. It's not about forcing yourself into perfection. It's about training yourself to return to what matters most, especially when distractions are pulling you in every direction. The reason discipline is sacred is because it protects what's sacred in you. When the world is noisy, it creates silence. When your thoughts are scattered, it brings focus. It's the container that allows your deepest work to unfold. Without it, even the most beautiful dreams remain just that, dreams. With it, you begin to shape them into something real, and not just real but lasting. That's what makes it holy. It's the quiet backbone of all transformation. There comes a time in every life when you stop asking, "What do they think of me?" and begin asking, "Who am I really?" Not the version you present at work, not the one you post online, not the one shaped by other people's hopes and expectations, just you, without the masks, the labels, the noise. That turning point doesn't always come with fireworks or clarity. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like a slow awareness that the life you've been living isn't fully yours, and that's where the real path begins, not outward but inward. Buddha didn't teach people to impress the world. He taught them how to liberate themselves from it, to know the mind, tame it, and finally be free of the illusions it clings to. When Carl Jung spoke of individuation, he meant something that Buddhism has long understood, that your journey is not about becoming something else. It's about returning to what you already are, beneath the layers. We think growth is about adding more skills, more goals, more achievements. But in Buddhism, true growth often means shedding, letting go of identities we've been conditioned to carry, releasing the need for validation, abandoning the pressure to live up to images that don't reflect our real experience. It's uncomfortable, it's disorienting, but it's necessary. Because you can't be free if you're still performing. There's a quiet power in walking away from the crowd, not in rebellion but in reverence. Reverence for your own voice. Reverence for the parts of you that are still growing, still forming. Buddha often withdrew into solitude, not because he disliked people, but because solitude sharpened his clarity. He knew that when you're constantly surrounded by other voices, your own voice becomes faint. The inner path isn't popular, it's not flashy, but it's where all true transformation begins. And if you're feeling lost lately, if nothing external seems to be filling the ache inside, maybe that's your signal, not to do more, but to go inward. We live in a world obsessed with visibility. Everyone wants to be seen, to be recognized, to be known. But what's the point of being seen if the version you're showing isn't even you? Buddha once said, "It is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles." That's what individuation is. It's not about proving your worth to others. It's about seeing your own truth clearly and no longer needing the world to confirm it. And here's something you might not hear often. The path of self-discovery is lonely at times. Not because you're unloved, but because you're no longer distracting yourself with the noise. And when the distractions fade, all that's left is you, your doubts, your past, your dreams, your fears, but also your wisdom, your peace, your real center, And from that place, something sacred emerges: clarity. The kind of clarity that doesn't come from books or advice, but from listening deeply. As the Buddha taught, the greatest teacher is already within you. You just have to get quiet enough to hear it. There's something quietly unsettling about how much of our lives revolve around being seen. We post, we share, we update, not always because we want to, but because we feel we have to. It's like the modern world has convinced us that if our effort isn't visible, it doesn't count. That if our success isn't documented in real time, it might as well not exist. But Buddha's teachings challenge that completely. He taught that the path to true peace is inward, not outward. That real growth doesn't need to be witnessed, it only needs to be real. And the question we rarely stop to ask is this: would I still do this if no one ever knew? There's a kind of honesty in that question that strips everything down. If no one would ever see the book you wrote, the art you made, the business you built, would you still do it? Not for the followers, not for the recognition, not for the applause, but for the love of it, for the meaning it brings you, for the transformation it sparks within. Buddha didn't seek fame. He renounced royalty to sit under a tree in silence, asking the deepest questions of existence, not for attention but for liberation. His was a journey not of performance, but of truth. And maybe that's the question we should each sit with. What would I do differently if I wasn't performing? Because the moment you remove the audience, the entire shape of your actions shifts. Suddenly, you're not trying to impress, you're trying to express. You're not focused on perception, you're focused on presence. When there's no one watching, you stop curating and start creating, and that's where your truest work is born. No filters, no expectations, just raw, sacred effort. And the irony? That's the work most worth doing. A lot of people feel stuck because they're not making real progress, they're managing their image. They're spending more time telling the world what they're going to do than actually doing it. And it's exhausting, because the performance never ends. But Buddhism teaches us to be mindful of our energy, to protect it, to direct it inward before we give it away. Buddha once said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." That includes the version of you that's still figuring it out, that's still building in silence. When you're not worried about being seen, you're free to fail. You're free to experiment. You're free to rebuild without shame. And that's how mastery happens. That's how momentum grows. Quietly, slowly, honestly. Some of the most brilliant creations were born in obscurity, crafted in silence, refined in solitude. Because real vision doesn't come from feedback. It comes from stillness. The kind of stillness that Buddha pointed to again and again. A stillness that holds you steady, even when the world is spinning. There's a special kind of power in doing something so silently, so steadily, that when it's finally complete, the world stops. Not because you made a sound, but because the result speaks louder than anything you could have said along the way. It's that moment when people look up and wonder, where did that come from? But you know it came from nights of quiet effort, early mornings without applause, and the discipline to keep showing up when no one was watching. That is what the Buddha meant when he spoke of right effort. Energy directed not toward attention, but toward awakening, toward clarity, toward peace. You didn't build in silence because you were afraid, you weren't hiding. You were honoring something sacred, your growth. And when that growth becomes strong enough, solid enough, it doesn't need an introduction. It arrives whole. It doesn't wobble under questions. It doesn't need validation. It simply stands. Buddha's teachings always pointed inward, toward direct experience, not performance. He never said, go out and show everyone your practice. He said, know yourself. And when you truly know yourself, you stop rushing to prove yourself. The truth is, When you're deeply focused on building something real, you forget to narrate it. You're too busy doing the actual work. There's no time for status updates when you're refining something meaningful. And ironically, that absence of noise becomes your advantage, because when the result finally reveals itself, it feels unexpected, but undeniable. That contrast between quiet process and powerful reveal creates impact. It's the same reason we're moved by the lotus. It grows in the mud, unseen, until one day it blooms. Whole, beautiful, effortless in appearance, though not in journey. Buddha lived that way. Before anyone called him the Enlightened One, he sat alone beneath the Bodhi tree. There was no audience, no celebration, just him, the earth, his breath, and the steady silence of awakening. His transformation didn't come with a crowd cheering. It came from turning inward and sitting with the truth. And when he rose, everything had changed. Not because he spoke louder, but because he had nothing left to prove. That's the power of the quiet reveal. It doesn't need spectacle. It radiates from within. Sometimes we're tempted to pull people in during the process. We want support, reassurance, encouragement. But not everyone is meant to see what you're building while it's still becoming. Some people don't have the eyes to see potential. They only respond to results, and that's okay. Not everyone is supposed to understand your journey. Some will only meet you once you've arrived. The key is to not let that make you bitter. Let it make you focused. Let it be a reminder that your path is yours. Buddha often reminded his followers not to cling to the approval of others, because attachment, even to praise, is still a form of suffering. You don't need to shout to be heard. When your work is rooted in truth, it speaks for itself, quietly, clearly, and powerfully. Thank you for walking this path with me, for choosing depth over display, and for being part of Buddhist journey. If today's message touched something deep within you, there's another video waiting on your screen right now to take you even further. I hope you'll watch it and keep going inward, where the real transformation begins.